Hello and good evening, Sir Ross. I am Kenyon John T. Martin from BFMM01, and according to the situation of Melissa and the first guide question, that is, bilang isang moral relativist, tama ba o mali yung paniniwala ni Melissa at ng citizen ng bansang iyon? Ano ang iyong explanation para sabihin na tama o mali ang kanilang paniniwala? From the perspective of a moral relativist, Melissa's belief and the belief of her society that euthanizing terminally ill people that are elders or individuals of any age is morally acceptable and it cannot be judged as universally moral, right, or wrong. Moral relativism holds that there is no universal moral truth applicable to all cultures. So a practice like euthanasia is evaluated only according to the moral standards of that society in which it exists. In Melissa's country, the law and the citizens collectively agree that euthanasia is humane and morally justified, which means that within their cultural framework, their belief is considered morally right. Furthermore, moral relativism emphasizes that there is no ethical theory or belief system that is inherently superior to one another. So cultures that oppose euthanasia cannot claim a more correct moral stance and position than Melissa's society. These differing moral systems simply reflect different values shaped by history, tradition, social needs, and not a hierarchy of right or wrong moral beliefs. Moral relativism also asserts that all belief systems are equally valid in determining the standards of right or wrong, giving Melissa's culture full legitimacy in defining euthanasia as acceptable. Therefore, as a moral relativist, one would maintain that Melissa and her fellow citizens are morally right according to their own cultural beliefs, and their stance and their own beliefs within that cultural context, regardless of how societies may judge their practice. Now, according to the second guide question, which is, bilang isang virtue ethicist, tama ba o mali yung paniniwala ni Melissa at ng citizens ng bansang iyon? Ano ang iyong explanation para sabihin na tama o mali ang kanilang paniniwala? Now, from the standpoint of the virtue ethicist, according to Aristotle, the belief of Melissa and her fellow citizens that euthanasia for the terminally ill is morally acceptable would ultimately be wrong, because it does not align with the cultivation of virtue ethics that leads to the genuine human flourishing or eudaimonia. Aristotle argues that happiness or eudaimonia is the ultimate end to a human life, and it can only be achieved through the consistent practice of virtuous action formed by good habits. Virtue is the mean between the extreme of excess and deficiency, and moral behavior is right only when it arises from a well-formed character shaped by reason, compassion, and the practical wisdom. Now, in the case of Melissa's society, approving euthanasia is morally wrong if the belief arises from vices such as deficiency of compassion or courage, an excessive desire to avoiding suffering, or the inability to recognize the intrinsic worth of human life. Now, supporting euthanasia for the sake of convenience, relief from responsibility, or an unbalanced view of autonomy falls outside the golden mean, and therefore cannot be considered virtuous. Moreover, virtue ethics emphasizes that moral excellence is developed through habitual practice. Acting in ways that undermine life rather than promote flourishing weakens the moral character rather than strengthening it. Now, even if the citizens believe that they are acting humanely, their actions fail to cultivate the virtue such as patience, temperance, and practical wisdom, which is necessary for true happiness. Since virtue ethicists judge moral character by the intentions behind the action, and the belief that ending life is an acceptable solution reflects poorly performed habits that do not contribute to the excellence of the character. Now, required for eudaimonia. And for this reason, Aristotle would conclude that their belief is morally wrong. Now, because it does not foster the virtue necessary for a truly flourishing human life, nor does it contribute to the development of morally excellent character over the course of a life that is well lived. Now that is it for my answer to this Dropbox Module 9 according to Melissa's situation based on the first and second guide question. Thank you.